Do you always find yourself burning out right before your level up? Today, I want to talk about how growth isn't linear and it's actually cyclical. And the framework that I came up with that helps myself stay on track without burning out and overworking myself. I'm Diamond Davis, a content creator, writer, and strategist, and let's get into it. All right, so for this, you're going to see me using my laptop just a bit because this is literally actually a framework that I came up with that helps me to expand my container. And what I mean when I say expand my container is that when we are trying to elevate and reach new goals, be able to hold new things, like let's say it's $20,000 cash months, you need to be able to hold it. And so that's what it means to have a container. Like you, you literally you can contain $20,000 a month in your life. And that means you have the nervous system, which means you feel regulated, you feel calm, you feel peaceful. You're not stressed out, you're not going to self sabotage. You are able to actually hold whatever it is that you desire, without it stressing you out or making you have to burn out or act out of character to hold that thing. That's what it means to have a regulated nervous system and to have the container. So when you are leveling up, like let's say you want to be somebody that is fit, you have to expand your container for what you can hold with as far as showing up for working out. That means you have to have a container, aka your life needs to be set up for you to go to the gym 5 days a week, 4 days a week, or whatever. So when you hear me say container, that's what it means. It literally means you can contain whatever that blessing is that you ask for. So, like, just to really drive this home, when you see those people that win the lottery, right, and they say they lose it really quickly, they didn't have the container. They didn't have the knowledge, they didn't have the wisdom, they didn't have the nervous system to be able to hold that amount of money for a long period of time and be able to actually keep it. So that's what it means, um, when I say container. Okay. The way this came about is I knew that every time I got sick, which wasn't often, maybe twice a year, I would be like really sick. That meant it was time for a break. That meant that I was going to get to slow down because I am somebody that I used to be former workaholic. I'm not claiming it anymore, but I used to love working. Like everything was all about work. So I wouldn't slow down or stop working unless I got sick. And I wouldn't even be that upset about it. I mean, I think at first sometimes I would be, like a few years ago, I would be upset when I got sick. But as I started growing in my spirituality and learning what that means, I'm like, oh, this means my body needs a break. That's fine. And it felt like a guilt free excuse for me to take some days off and actually rest. And so that was kind of the first thing I was like, you don't allow yourself to take a break unless your body has broke down. That's the only time you feel like you are worthy of a break. That's insane. And it's not fair to my body, to my nervous system. And here I am all these years trying to elevate, gotta go get it, gotta go get it. And I'm not even giving my body a chance to really get comfortable in the new level because I've just been going and going. So in January, I had already set out my goals, I had set out my habits and my standards, my new standards and habits, for the next level version of me for the new year. And I'm going great for 2 weeks. And then the third week of January, I got sick. And I'm like, why am I sick right now? This is supposed to be my level up. See, like this is like, what are we should be going. Like this is we should be hitting the pavement. Like we should be executing. Why are we sick? You've only been going for 2 weeks. And I'm like literally talking to my body. I'm like, how can you be sick? We've been going for 2 weeks. There's no way you could be burnt out already. And I wasn't burnt out, but my body was asking for me to slow down. I realized it was because, well, Diamond, you have a new level of habits and standards that your nervous system is regulating to, that your body is getting adjusted to. You're leveling up and your body needs this time to slow down and rest. And I was learning what rest looked like without it being to the point of failure, like to the point of breaking down, to the point of reaching burnout. Because in my mind, up to a few weeks ago, me being sick meant that I was burnt out, or unless I literally had a crash out, then it meant I was burnt out. But I was like, I'm not burnt out. And it was like, no, you're not burnt out. But we're stopping you now here to take a beat, take a pause, let your body catch up to all that you've been stepping into. And then we'll be ready to go again soon, probably next week. This is when this framework really hit me of we have two main phases. We have the output phase and we have capacity phases. So the output phase is when we are going at it, like we're hitting our mark, we're executing on what we said we're going to do, we're maintaining the habits, we're showing up to the gym, we're showing up for the work, we're making time for what we said we would, we're meditating, we're doing all the things. And that's great and that's important. That builds the resilience in your nervous system to expand your container. But we also have what I'm calling capacity phases. And the capacity phase is all about that integration and the healing and the rewiring that our body needs and our mind needs to grow, to elevate. What I was struggling with to realize was that the output phase, just because the world we live in is like the phase where everybody's like, that's growth, that's elevation, when you're going hard, when you got that momentum, when you're putting in work. But the capacity phase, when you're slowing down and you're regulating and you're healing, that is just as important. And that is growth as well. It's two phases to growth, and you have to have both. And it's like the capacity phases is when you're like updating your internal hardware, is what it's like, you're updating the code or whatever. And that only comes from when you have the experiences of showing up, and you have those realizations when you're setting those habits and those standards, and then your body is adjusting to what you've just learned, what you've just been experiencing, and then your capacity expands. So my model was output, and then doing all the things, I'm showing up until I'm depleted. Then I would collapse. And only then, when I collapse, get sick, burnout, only then, and I'm now sitting down to rest and integrate and reflect on what I've learned and then restart the cycle. And that is exactly what I would do. But what I realized would happen when I wasn't allowing myself to have those moments to reflect more frequently was that I would be continuing to work, but in a slightly off direction. Because when I was sick a couple weeks ago, and I had this realization, really, I had this realization, and I had quite a few more that like really shifted my content. My coach, one of my coaches told me something that really helped shift my perspective that I needed to hear. And I said, oh, because I was able to slow down and allow things to catch up, I had these realizations for all of my content for the month of February. One of my coaches said something that really helped shift how I wanted to orient my content and my business, and a ton of other realizations. And I had saw this TikTok video. And so during this same week when I was having this, what I now call a capacity week of rest and reset, I had saw this random stupid TikTok video, and I'm like, I don't even know how this got in my algorithm, but it was talking about how they were back in the day in the military, they were testing to use pigeons for missiles and to make sure that they were on target. And basically the pigeons would only peck if the course was off or whatever, they were off course or something like that. And so when the pigeons would peck, it would trigger sensors, and basically the missile would course correct. And it got me thinking about how when you continue to go through burnout and you continue to work until collapse, you're not allowing yourself to integrate the lessons and regulate and heal, you continue to work. You're working hard, but you're working slightly off, 2 degrees off, and you're continuing to work and you're continuing to work. Where if you had took a second, took a beat, took that rest that your body needs before you get to burnout, it would of course corrected you a little bit. And you would keep going, you would keep going, keep going, keep going until you reach your next capacity phase. And then it's like, oh, tweak that just a little bit, oh, course correct, until you are right on the money. But when you continue to go so hard and you don't take that second to integrate and rest, you continue to go in the direction that is further off from where you want it to be. You'll get there eventually, but if you actually rested and recalibrated and reflected, you would be able to get there a lot faster. And so I was talking to ChatGPT about this, and I said the thing about the pigeons, and they were like, yeah, it's like you'll be going off 2 degrees off course for 6 months, and next thing you know, you end up in another country. And I thought that was so funny because the reason why I went to Paris last year was because I was burnt out. It was like I decided to go last minute, like 3 weeks before, because I was so burnt out and fed up. And I said, I just got to get out of here. And that was why I ended up in another country. And not that I didn't enjoy Paris. I mean, I loved Paris, but that trip didn't come out of joy. It didn't come from a place of excitement initially. It came from me being so burnt out and needing a complete reset because I literally rested the whole week I was there because I was so burnt out that I literally did end up in another country. So I thought that was really funny. Okay, so now that I've kind of laid the foundation, like I said, there's the two phases. The output phase, which is again is execution, momentum, habits, and standards. That's when you're going. And then you have your capacity phase, which is when you are actually integrating, rewiring, regulating, and healing those beliefs. And also, what I want to say about the capacity and what that means, like when I say healing beliefs, is when we have those output phases, things are going to come up, experiences are going to come up, and they are showing us what we need to learn to be able to hold that next level. Like for me, literally, this coming up, it's showing me that I have to give myself more breaks, more rest to be able to hold this next level. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue to have those burnout cycles. Another thing that I realized also, like healing beliefs, was I just did a video on asking for what you want. That came during that rest phase. It really integrated during that rest phase. All right, so here is the 5-stage model framework for the ultimate growth cycle, as I'm calling it, the container expansion cycle. So, stage one, this is when you are deciding what your identity is and what you desire. So, who you're becoming, what you're available for, and what your new standard is. So, for example, for me, mine for this year is I am $5 million diamond. And $5 million diamond lives with ease, structure, softness, visibility, and she is discerning. That's the identity I've decided to be. The second stage, this is when you actually ground it. And this is really for your mind. And this is when you set tangible goals and timelines for that desire that you already stated. Because the first step, that's really for your soul. Like that's what's in your heart. What's in my heart, what's in my soul is $5 million diamond. And the next step is like, okay, but our mind and body needs to ground that. So how do we ground that? What are the actual tangible goals that lead us to $5 million diamond? So this is really getting the route in your head. We don't want to know the how, but this is just the general idea, right? If I want to be $5 million diamond, then that means I need to, I don't know, I can't remember the math, but I want to say make like $200,000 a month or something like that, right? So what would be the tangible goals? Okay, probably scale my affirmation cards, scale my manifestation app. Starting to think about the tangible goals and the route of how I want to get there. Because also maybe another way I could be $5 million diamond is the lottery or I don't know, uh, real estate. But I'm not in real estate, right? So that wouldn't quite be the route for me. So it's like thinking about based off of who you are, what makes sense for you, what's the route and what are the goals to get you there. Step 3. This is the output phase. This is the embodied action. So now you have the goals. Like I'll just give you one of my goals. One of my goals is to grow my YouTube channel. So the embodied action of that, how I actually can live that, the habits and the standards is that I post at least 2 YouTube videos a week, long form. And another one is to scale my affirmation cards. So that means one of the things I'm doing is learning ads. And that means showing up. Right now, I'm in an ads class. So showing up for my ads class every week. That's the embodied action. That's the consistency. So let's say one of your goals might be to lose 20 pounds. Well, what would be the habits? What would be the standards of somebody who's lost 20 pounds? probably going to the gym, probably eating clean most days. Get that type of thing. Then stage 4 is the nervous system ceiling. So this is the contrast. And this is when something comes up and you realize it's time to slow down and reflect. And it's not because you're doing something wrong that this happens, but it's because you're doing something new. And so it might show up as you being tired. It might show up as something in your body being off. It might show up as fear, or it might show up as conflict with somebody that you love, random delays, or just thinking like, what the hell is going on? And that tells you that you've hit a nervous system ceiling. It's to show you more of what you do want and what you don't want and what needs to shift in you. And one of the things that Abraham Hicks always says is that contrast isn't a bad thing. Contrast isn't punishment. It's just meant to show you more of what you actually want. It is expansion pressure, and that's required for us to elevate. And then lastly, we have stage 5, and this is the capacity phase. And this is when you are integrating and rewiring. So you're recalibrating to this next level version of you. And during this phase, basically you're identifying what belief got triggered, what pattern got activated, and what emotional or energetic restriction surfaced. So like what came up, what happened? Like for me, it was I got sick and I got pissed. And I'm like, okay, why are you pissed, ma'am, that you're sick? Like, what's going on? What is this showing us? What is the belief that you have? Oh, the belief is that you don't deserve to rest if you're not sick, if your body didn't literally fail on you. Because the sickness I had, it was just like, it was a light one. Like, normally when I'm sick, when I said like twice a year, it's like out. But this was just a little like, and I'm like, what? My aura ring was like, you might be coming down with something, girl. I'm like, what? No, I'm not. So that's what the capacity phase is. And so your results don't grow until your nervous system does, until your body is actually able to hold the new things that you want. In some weeks, I've noticed for me, it happens more in weeks. Some weeks are output weeks and some weeks are capacity weeks. It just depends. And sometimes it's also, I've noticed even it can kind of be days within that week too. It might be overall, this might be a week of going hard, but maybe there is a day or two where it's really like, oh, I've got to pull back today. There's some things I need to reflect on. There's some work that I need to do. And some days it's like, let's go. And you have to just really trust your body and know yourself, to trust what you feel you need to do today. And I would say to just remember that growth is not this uninterrupted, straight, constant momentum. It is a cycle. Growth is a cycle, just like everything else in life. Nothing in life is just this constant linear momentum. Nothing. Everything has a cycle in life. That is a part of being on earth. That is a part of our nature. Everything is a part of a cycle. And so there always is a time for rest. There always is a time for blooming. It's like the seasons. It's not just, a workaholic. My excuse, I'm like, well, it's winter. So no, like that doesn't just apply for like a 3-month span, babe. Like that could be daily, that could be weekly, that could be monthly, that we go through these ebbs and flows on our growth journey. And we don't need to be discouraged if we're in a season of things slowing down, a day of things slowing down. Everything will be okay. And that is a part of an abundance mindset, is trusting that even if you are slowing down today, that nothing's gonna stop. Your momentum's not gonna stop. Your business isn't gonna stop. The world isn't gonna fall apart if you sit back and relax. It's actually just gonna calibrate you even more precisely for exactly what is for you when you can stay in the energy of either resting or going hard. Rest is not a pause, it's integration. And it's just as important as consistency and, following the habits and the discipline and showing up. And it's just as important. And that was something that I had to realize. And even something I would say that I'm still just a little bit integrating into my body, of feeling safe and no shame or embarrassment for resting. Thank you guys so much for watching. I actually am working on a freebie for this. Hopefully I can get it done. but it's going to be like an output versus capacity tracker, just so you can kind of see where you are, if you're in a week of output or if you're in a week of capacity. And just to go back through the framework, the 5 stages of this growth cycle, the first one is stage 1 is identifying your desire and your identity and making that decision. Stage 2 is grounding in that, meaning coming up with the tangible goals, the timelines, the money targets, the systems, whatever you need for your mind to feel like it has the route. Stage 3 is the output phase or embodied action. And this is when you actually start living that new identity that you decided in stage 1. And this is where the momentum happens. This is when you get the action, the habits, the execution, the consistency, the structure, the discipline. This is the part that a lot of us workaholics love. Then we have stage 4, and this is the nervous system sealing. This is the contrast. This is when something happens that shows up and shows you that you need to expand. This can show up as body symptoms, fatigue, conflict with somebody, resistance, random delays, or just situations that make you go, what's really going on here? Irritation is one of them for me too. Like if I'm irritated, something pissed me off, I'm like, well, why are you really pissed? That is that nervous system sealing, showing you the contrast so you can be more clear on what you want and what needs to change. And then lastly, we have stage 5, which is the capacity phase. And this is the actual integration and rewiring in your body, in your mind, nervous system to be able to hold what you want. And so this is when you identify what belief got triggered, what pattern got activated, or what emotionally came up for you. And instead of forcing more output when you are feeling this way, you upgrade your container when you can actually sit and reflect on why this is coming up, what is the hidden belief that you have here that is limiting you, and how can you change that into something that is actually working for you. And like I said, it'll have you going, instead of you going just 2 degrees off, like I said earlier, because you just couldn't stop working and you wanted to just keep going and going, and you'll be able to get a little bit more precise, and you'll be able to hold what you want in a healthier way. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.